Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and you're listening to the voice of the people. Let's get ready for Boxing Voice.
ThaBoxingvoice.com.
What broke him down? Was it just the body punching? I was hitting him with body punching. I heard him actually, he was crying in there. You were saying that Gibbs was crying when you hit him? When did that happen? And perhaps the fourth round on?
ThaBoxingvoice.com.
So that you knew you had him by that time. Absolutely, but I knew you were tough and you're taking those punches.
Productions.
Making women gestures like,
Let's go, champ. It's the champ. Keep sharing the champ. With the fake champ. With Alex Riley. Let's go. ThaBoxingvoice.com. I'm a team like he's a C-plus fighter. I'm a dominant, I'm a dog-fish fighter. I'm talking about punishment. We're going to punish you for 12 rounds. Either the referee says you had enough or you can say you had enough.
I'm talking about punishment. We're going to punish the competition for 12 rounds every day. TBV. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are going to give you 2016 Fight of the Year, and we have a full panel today who will be giving their opinions. Maybe they like this top five. Collectively, we have come up with the most sexiest top five. You can definitely call in. MD is going to be giving you the rules as to what exactly we will be seeking. That number is 1-425-569-5241. Remember to add Nestor Gibbs on Skype for all our international callers or people that just feel like saving some money. Now, remember, this is 2016 Fight of the Year. There were quite a few fights. So while you're waiting on hold, if you're home, do some research, call in, let us know your pick. Let's head on over to the Sunshine State, the home of the good doctor. Boxing MD, what's going on, brother? I know you want to sit in on this. We're going to head on over to the doctor, the Sunshine State. Boxing MD, what's going on?
Is that a fair statement to make? You have to be honest with yourself. How's it going, Ness? When we were making this list, or when we're thinking about the 2016 Fight of the Year, two things that came up in my mind. The first thing is that, unlike last year, where I think that most people had Vargas Mirror as the #1 fight, and I think it was a little the gap was wider. This year, the Fight of the Year, there wasn't a standout fight, so there were a lot of good fights that are all viable choices. But the other thing that stood out was there was a lot of good fights this year, although maybe not a Hagler-Hearns level classic fight. But this year was not that bad. So sometimes when we do these year end of the, we talk about how shitty the year is and not. By the time we look back on the year, we could be positive about what happened in 2016.
And both our California guys, Bay Area, talk to us.
There'll be nothing but smooth sailing.
I love this show. This has got to be my most sought after show of the year. I love Fight of the Year. It's what, to me, boxing is all about, because it's all about the fights. As much as the fighters deserve credit, the magic they produce inside that ring is what we tune in for. And I got to say, coming into this year, I was already really, really high off of last year's Fight of the Year. And when one of its candidates was going to be put together with one of my favorite action fighters, I knew it was a recipe for excitement. And I can't wait to get into it.
And the editor-in-chief of ThaBoxingvoice.com, Matthew, what's up, brother?
What's up, guys? I can't wait to talk this topic just like the rest of the panel. Like MD said, there's a ton of great fights this year. There's a ton of fights that aren't in this top five that we chose that I'm going to be pretty much going to bat for, saying that they should be Fight of the Year, because I think I'm like the resident hipster now. And Steven, I can't wait to talk to you about this, man, because like you said, Fight of the Year is what this is about. This sport's about the action, the beauty, the art that's in the ring, and Fight of the Year represents that completely. So I can't wait to talk about this with you guys, the callers, and everyone else.
And before we just break down these fights and discuss it, here are the rules, and we will hopefully not have to reiterate these rules over and over again throughout the call, but throughout the show. But
we're gonna call these rules the doctor's orders.
Yeah. So you're gonna call in, right? Out of these 5, you're gonna give us your fight of the year out of these 5, so we can get an accurate poll. Then, if you would like to, if not mentioned before, or if you just want to mention again, you can mention a fight or two that we didn't mention or that one of us didn't mention either. But if so in other words, we get it. Maybe Richard Comey's fight of the year. It's not going to factor in the Boxing Voice fight of the year because we have to limit it to a certain amount of fights so that it could be focused on, because it's difficult to have a list of 1 million fights. So those are the rules. Pick your favorite fight of these 5 honorable mentions and keep it under 3 minutes.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get right into it. Steven, since people are interested in your take, I guess we'll pass you the ball.
I'm not gonna lie.
5 nominations, right? So let's just go through the nominations and see. Same rules apply for you. Rather, you don't need me to say anything. Same rules apply for you that MD said.
I'm not gonna lie, I spaced out because I was super producing the numbers. But I do know that I'll give you my quick rundown of who I think is top 5. Right? That's what we're doing. MD, I'm sorry.
No. Okay. So what we could do is we could talk about each fight. So the first fight would be Thurman Porter. Tell us why you think this fight should be on the list. And tell us, the ups and the downs and I guess the negatives or the negatives and far of why it shouldn't be fight of the year.
Okay, so let him finish going, and you just take over. Let him do the producing at the moment. I guess start it off.
Yeah, MD, yeah, please. That's awesome. You get to lead by example, brother.
Exactly.
Oh, I start off? Okay, so Porter Thurman, right? Why this is fight of the year candidate is because and it not as much like for my criteria fight of the year, level of competition and skill is very important. Because fight of the year is involving a fight. It's not just the knockout. So the fact that 2 top 5 welterweights, a highly anticipated match, it showed violence, it showed adjustments, it showed ups and downs, and it showed there's points in the fight where obviously Keith Thurman won this fight, but Shawn Porter was coming on very aggressively with a lot of intensity that you were getting kind of worried about Keith Thurman being able to continue the fight and keep at that level to keep him off of him. So typically speaking, I guess matchups like this where like, for example, like Thurman Denis, we're always like, oh, it could be a bad fight. It could, it might not be a great fight. And especially because Shawn Porter sometimes is in uglier fights because of his fighting style. This fight delivered in all aspects. The reason why I would consider this not a lock for fight of the year is because there was no knockouts or knockdowns, and there wasn't really a time in the fight where a guy seemed like he was willing to get out of there. So it showed the skill, it showed the intensity, and it for sure had the, level of impact on the sport of boxing. So this is definitely a fight of the year.
So at this point, we're going to go 1 fight at a time. I will agree with you then. I thought you were going to go through all 5, but this does make...
Oh, yeah. Well, I could just...
it makes more sense like this because then it will be, at least breaks in the conversation. And I agree. Thurman Porter was high level. Both A and B sides were probably both A sides going into this fight. It was, like you said, a highly anticipated fight. We wanted this badly, and they delivered. There weren't any knockdowns, but that was because it was the skill. I believe at this level, you don't see knockouts or knockdowns, and Porter proven to have a solid chin, and Thurman proven to be durable because Porter, he gives everyone a tough fight. Everyone. This was one that we were clamoring for. Obviously, there was times. I mean, I think boxing fans, we're just fickle, right? Because we thought this one wouldn't happen. There were a few different dates. They even pulled out of Connecticut. So like you said, the anticipation was definitely there. The intensity between the two. That Barclays Center, that first time that they met when the sparring tape was spoken of live, it was just good. Thurman was always yelling in one of their face, right? And Ken was always getting back. It was just good build up before and after the fight, because after the fight, when Thurman won, the first thing he did was take to the post-fight press conference and say that he is the father-son killer and call out the last father-son duo in the 147-pound division, Danny Garcia. So, this fight had everything, all the elements that it needed. Except for the knockdown, which, again, I understand. So I have no problem with this one being on, the list. But I'll just go ahead and say this is my fight of the year, Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter. I think that because of level of opposition, right, easily, you can compare this to Frampton and Santa Cruz. But even though Leo Santa Cruz had a title, he was more Frampton was more proven in the eyes of the hardcore fans than Leo. Leo had that win over Abner Mares, and some speculated as to how good he was. With Thurman and with Porter, we knew they were both good. Some thought Thurman was afraid of Porter. Some felt that Porter didn't, want the fight with Thurman. So we got it, and it delivered. I like it.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. I agree with both of you in the sense that this is definitely a fight that we all really wanted. Two guys in their prime, coming off of, Shawn Porter's coming off of that Adrian Broner win. He was getting good momentum back. Thurman never really lost any momentum. Doing good numbers on TV with his fight with Guerrero. It made so much sense to do this fight. Only negative thing to me is, I agree with you guys in the sense that it does feel it came up short a little bit, only in the sense that there was some excitement that was missing. Some of these punches that were thrown weren't landing really clean. Punches were blocked against because of their skill level. They're at this high level. We talk about Shawn Porter smothering punches from time to time. Keith Thurman was doing what Doug Fisher calls drive-by shooting, when he's coming out, moving along the outside and still lighting off explosive shots, but nothing that'll stop or hurt someone like a Porter. I think that it deserves to be considered one of the top fights of the year. It is not my fight of the year because this fight had the anticipation I had for it, but it didn't quite live up. I was hoping for more. I was hoping for a knockout. There was something that was kind of missing for me personally. So it's not my fight of the year, but it's, I would say, if not runner-up, definitely my number 3.
And Matt, before Matt gives his take, let me say again that this is my fight of the year as well. So Ness and I both have this as our, you call me a PBC hater, right? But I think this was the best fight of the year, giving all the factors that I described before. So,
but you are a huge Keith Thurman fan, so I'm not surprised this is your fight of the year. But I actually didn't watch this fight live. I watched it on my DVR the day after, and I remember seeing all the headlines. I knew who won, and it was fight of the year, candidate. I saw all these headlines. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a great fight. And I was kind of underwhelmed in a way, to the point of that there was almost no damage done. There was tons of punches landed, tons of punches thrown, great action, great boxing skill displayed, but there was no vast drama in the bout. I felt I didn't feel like those ups and downs in the bout. I don't know. It missed that drama effect to me. It had everything else you almost wanted, except for maybe a couple knockdowns, but it missed that drama. And maybe a couple knockdowns would have gave it that. So, like everyone said, I think this is a great fight. Definitely deserves to be either in the top 5 or top 10 fights of the year, but not my fight of the year.
MD, I guess the ball's back in your corner. Leo, Santa Cruz versus Carl Frampton.
So in this fight, we had again two top 5 guys in the division, and we had a guy moving up weight class, and the result was a guy who was an underdog win. So this fight has different results. I think that you saw Carl Frampton's superior counter punching, giving him the edge. But And this fight, again, had no knockdowns. I don't think it had a guy seriously injured, except I guess a few times I would say that maybe Leo Santa Cruz was stunned, but I wouldn't say he was on the verge of going out. But the problem that I had with this fight and why it's not necessarily fight of the year is there wasn't as much momentum shifting in this fight. I think a lot of the rounds looked the same. So it's not as much of a storybook or as much of I guess a masterpiece, if you want to put it that way, as my fight of the year as Thurman Porter. Also, I definitely favor larger fighters over smaller fighters in general. So I do give an edge, just in case that two fights were very similar as far as what it saw. I give an edge to bigger guys because the margin of error with welterweights is smaller than with smaller guys because the result of being hurt or knocked down is better. And again, I think one of the reasons why we didn't see a guy so hurt in the Thurman Porter fight is because Shawn Porter has a fucking beard. Because Keith Thurman landed punches on Shawn Porter that would put out most other guys. And Matt, I don't know what you're talking about there's not being a lot of damage affected. Everybody's skin, is bruised differently.
No, it's not about like the facial damage, like cuts or bruises. It's not about that. I don't view that as damage. I view it as
you didn't see a guy
hurting
Queer
guy.
Street.
Like
you didn't see a guy on Queer Street.
No, I didn't see any guy get the stanky leg or anything like that. No way.
And that again was my only criticism.
That's not true. That's not true. See, and that's why Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton didn't get fight of the year for me, because at least in the Thurman Porter fight, when Thurman landed that 1-2 on Porter almost went down, knees buckled.
What about Santa Cruz getting stunned? What round did he get stunned? It was early in the fight by a left hook by Frampton.
Yeah, again, it's crazy. Me and MD are agreeing so much, but like MD said, the level of, damage is different for those guys down there. I think that when Thurman hits somebody,
Not true. What we see in the Roman Gonzalez Quadros fight, again, no knockdowns, but that fight seemed to have more damage inflicted on both men.
Oh yeah. Dude, one guy took a lot of damage.
Santa Cruz fell back into the ropes. Like if it was a more like, I don't know, strict ref, you could argue, do the ropes kept him up? He stumbled back. Lost his footing, knew the ropes were there, and fell back.
But Thurman Porter had.
You cannot argue the statement that the margin of error, the higher you go in the weight class, is smaller.
Of course.
Yes, because the power is obviously increased.
So you can never expect to see the same output as you see Quadros Gonzalez as a heavyweight, because
I'm not talking about output. You said the word output. I said the word damage. Okay, and you guys confuse my word for damage as like facial damage. I'm not talking about that. What we saw in the Thurman Porter fight and the Carl Frampton Leo Santa Cruz fight, and even you can argue even the Roman Gonzalez Quadros fight, is that we had a bunch of fights that were highly skilled bouts, exciting, high volume, but little damage done in all the bouts, in my opinion. And when I say damage, I mean putting the guy almost out, putting him almost down.
Yeah, when the level of opposition is high, you don't see that.
That's true. It's exclusive.
Don't you feel like this fight was also less competitive than the Thurman Porter fight? That's another factor. I thought that Frampton won this fight.
Yes, I agree.
It was pretty
easily. Well, not easily in the sense.
Hey, hold on. Let's finish going through them. We're gonna get caught in the rabbit hole, guys.
I mean, it was me. So, with the Carl Frampton Leo Santa Cruz, the comparison is that at least with Porter Thurman, the coin could flip. Porter had the aggressiveness and power to change the dynamic of the fight, whereas Santa Cruz, like you said, MD, it was like the same thing over and over because his game plan never switched. He just kept throwing punches, and that didn't work. So I don't see how that's fight of the year. Again, I get it. People are going to give it candidacy because it had two high-level opponents, two big-name opponents, but definitely not fight of the year for me, but a good fight for sure, and a great year for Carl Frampton. And he did great things. He moved up in this fight, so it was awesome, but not my fight of the year. I'm sticking with Thurman Porter.
Well, we can move on to a fight that has less skill if you want to, which is the next available fight.
Well,
Matt, did you give your breakdown for Frampton Santa Cruz?
No, I haven't, but I'll give it rather quickly. I thought that Frampton was just the more efficient boxer. He landed 36% of his shots, while Santa Cruz only landed 25% of his shots. So I thought Frampton was just more efficient with even threw 400 less punches than Santa Cruz. So I think Frampton just was overall more efficient throughout the bout. And again, like I think what Ness said, this bout was, I think, less competitive than the Thurman Porter bout. So definitely way more of an honorable mention to me than a quote-unquote fight of the year.
I'll give mine real quick. I loved watching this fight live because I remember it being really exciting. When I went back and rewatched it, I could see what you guys are saying, why it wasn't as competitive. But I think, to me, the reason why it wasn't as competitive was because the rounds were all very competitive. And towards the end, you always started giving towards Frampton. And so when you see Frampton building up the rounds, you assume the fight's not competitive. But I thought the fight, while it was happening, was competitive. Round by round, rounds were competitive. Frampton was not easily winning rounds, I didn't think. So because it was a championship fight, I did love that Frampton was a champion from a lower weight division, jumping up in his first fight and fighting for the belt. I like watching fighters do that. And there was a lot of excitement in the ring. I saw a lot of clean punches landed on both guys, and it was exciting to watch. Is it my number one? Certainly not. But I think it's more than an honorable mention. It's my number 2.
All right, so moving on to the next candidate, which we figured out, which seems to be the writers' consensus. A lot of the people are picking this one as the Orlando Salido Francisco Vargas fight, which ended in a draw. Am I correct with that? Majority draw?
Yes, majority draw.
Okay, so I think this fight had, I would say, the most landed punches that seemed to have damage on an opponent. In other words, these guys weren't necessarily using defense, which does make for a great fight as far as it being entertaining and as far as it being violent. But I think that the issue that I had with this being fight of the year is I like brawling, but I like to see a little more skill in the brawling. I like to see fighters make small adjustments that kind of, again, add to the chapters of the book. So I think that this one was pretty repetitive. I saw Vargas kind of getting lazy and just abandoning his boxing skills and just standing there with Salido and just banging in and out. And I think that you should be able to do that and then show boxing and do that and show boxing. So it just was not necessarily, it was a great fight. And I have no problem with someone picking this as fight of the year. But for myself, I need to see more skill shown and for it to be at a higher level than this for it to be fight of the year.
And quickly, MD, just to prove that point about the lack of defense, this fight broke a CompuBox record for that division for most combined landed power strikes at 1,593. So that just shows you the lack of defense and just the amount of power punches that were just landed throughout the bout from both men.
Yep. No defense. And listen, and there's a difference between brawling and skilled brawling. Like even if you saw in the Gotti Ward fights, I mean, they showed skill. Like there was adjustments, they were throwing combinations, they were moving in and out. And when I see two guys stick their heads against each other and just throw bunches, I love seeing it, but it just doesn't qualify for me as fight of the year. Or it just, I'll never pick it as a number one fight of the year. Especially if there's other fights that show more skill and also show the brutality.
Again, I have to agree. People get mad at me when I say that this fight was two guys, showing low skill level, right? And they're like, Ness, you're crazy. Look at the way that they're fighting on the inside. But, call me ignorant, call me stupid. I'll just say, producer, how many losses does Orlando Salido have?
10 or 11? I can check really fast. Maybe
more than 10 or 11 at this point. But
I believe he has 11 losses with like 4 draws.
There you go. So the thing is, there are blueprints, various of them. He doesn't.
Hold on, Ness. He has 13 losses and 13. 4 draws.
There you go. Now, he doesn't change his style. There's 13 blueprints. You got the Gamboa out there who beat him convincingly. Mikey beat him convincingly. There's guys that beat him convincingly. But then if you want to go and watch tape on him brawling, you can watch tape on him brawling. See, the trainer of Francisco Vargas, I don't really know who it is. I haven't paid attention. But I'm just going to say it's shameful that you won't sit down with your fighter and say, let's box this guy. You fighting to, the style of Salido is only adding life to the old ass body of Salido. Why not move around the ring and hit him in the body and fucking tire out the old guy, right? No, let's go to war with him. Let's be warriors and let our career not last long. Did you see the face of this kid? How many times is his face going to hold up if he keeps getting eyes looking the way that his eye looked? I don't know if it was this fight or the other fight, because that's what it's beginning to be. He's the new Salido. He's the new guy to take punches to the face so the fans could cheer and call him a warrior. But is he a warrior? I mean, again, he is a warrior, right? But this is because we're back in the days of Russell Crowe and Gladiator right here. It's only entertainment. Are you not entertained unless a guy has a big-ass black eye where it's shut, and then you're saying it's fight of the year because of that?
And for all the people saying that we complain sometimes when there's not enough action, and then this fight has tons of action, and now we're being critical. I'm not saying it's a bad fight, but I'm saying that sometimes there's a healthy medium between the sweet science and brawling. And when you apply the sweet science to impose brutality, I think that's the most beautiful thing, right? Like, I loved what Matisse was doing against Bruzan Provodnikov. He was throwing punches with bad intentions, but there was skill involved. So I think that's
it's very easy for everyone to get this analogy here, or at least this example. Lomachenko fought Orlando Salido. No, he didn't win, but there is a big consensus of people that feel that it's because Orlando Salido was dirty in that fight. But Lomachenko's fight still did not look like Orlando Salido versus Francisco Vargas or Juan Manuel Lopez or, the dude from wherever, I don't know, a couple of years ago. Remember, he was in a fight of the year where they both went down like 3 times, Orlando Salido and maybe a Chinese or Japanese guy. Remember? Anybody help me? No. Come on, hipster.
No. I remember that fight. I
didn't hear the question, to be honest.
Was that
that fight with Salido where he went down like 3 times?
Was that guy's name Turtzak? Was that guy?
I don't know. Check his record, man.
I think he was a guy from Thailand, and
he's not.
They got those funky dunky names that I can't pronounce very well. I butcher.
The point is, he's a brawler, man, and Francisco Vargas is his fault. He's the young up-and-coming champion. He has to be better. Would we ever see Joseph Diaz get in a fight looking this way? Unless he fights a Margarito type of fighter that keeps bringing it to him and he can't take that pressure. Like, fighters are supposed to get out of that danger, not stay in the fire like that, especially for your face to look the way that it, he won, but how many miles did he take off his career because of that? I don't know. This is not fight of the year for me. Was it entertaining? Hell yeah. This is the type of fight you invite your friends over and you're like, yo, this is boxing, you see? But it's not Thurman Porter. It's not even Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz. It's not that level. Like, Orlando Salido hasn't even gotten on that level. Has he won one title? Yeah. Has he been able to unify? Has he been able to move up multiple divisions? He probably's won a title in one division, then another title in another division, but not consecutively, the way that, Danny did it, Garcia, or the way that Mikey, or the way that Terrence Crawford just did, or the way that Pat, where it's like division after division. No, Orlando moves up. He gets lucky. We know that. He got 13 losses and 4 draws. He gets lucky when he gets lucky. He finds his Juan Manuel Lopez and knocks him out. You know what I'm saying? But he ain't knocking out Mikey Garcia. He ain't knocking out Gamboa. That's what I'm saying. So how is this fight of the year if this guy won't ever be elite?
Yo, are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my turn to break down the fight. Yes, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. Holy shit. You're saying that the reason why it's not fight of the year for you is because this guy can't like unify or nothing like that? Thurman Porter was in unification and it was your fight of the year.
No.
This is fighting. Hold on. Let me finish, dude. You went. I let you. I was sitting here jittering like a freaking madman. Okay, look it. This is fight of the year. Fuck boxing. Fuck defense. Who cares? Fight of the year. It doesn't need to have boxing. Believe it or not, you could say that, oh, yeah, this is the new guy that they send out there to get punched in the face. Screw that shit. Boxing needs fights like this because, believe it or not, a lot of people out there love this shit. This is what we need these fights. Get out of here. This is what
MMA fans.
No, it's not. It's catering boxing fans, and
Ness, I think we need these fights.
Guys who say that they miss the fights like this back in the day. There are old guys. Al Bernstein will tell you that miss the Carmen Basilio versus Tony DeMarco days. These fights are necessary. These fights get a lot of people into it, and you could argue, oh yeah, they're not showing no skill. They're showing balls, bigger. Like they're fucking. These guys are. They don't need skill.
Talk to me in 2 years, man. See if Vargas got a career in 2 years.
It don't matter. And Salido, he was a title holder, and he has been challenging for titles. He is a tough motherfucker, and the only way you're going to beat him is by getting down and dirty, getting rough, and getting tough. Mikey Garcia didn't beat him by boxing him away. Mike Garcia beat him because he hit him hard as fuck. Freaking Roman Martinez didn't beat him by boxing. Roman Martinez did it because he went to war with him, eked out a decision. Lomachenko didn't beat him because he didn't get rough and tough enough, and he learned from that. And he's going to be better because of that. People like Salido are necessary. Vargas, maybe he gets better and wises up after this.
With Salido is dirty, and that's why Mikey got out of the fight with the.
And again, you're bringing back older fights like it matters. This is fight of the year. This is a moment captured in boxing's history. His fights before didn't need to be good. He doesn't need to be elite after. This fight was a fight, not a boxing match. This is a boxing match of the year. This is fight of the year.
For you. I mean, there's
in this sport of boxing.
There's plenty of people that grab their cell phone and
it's only a way to legally let these guys smash at each other, dude. That's what it was. This was a fight, and it meant something to both of them.
And Steven, I agree 100% that we need fights like this with these level of guys. So I see both sides of the argument where Ness is describing that these aren't the elite of the elite boxers. When you have more skill, you're able to at least be a little smarter in your approach if you want to view boxing that way. And I'm not a fucking hipster. I can't give fight of the year to a fight that doesn't have a guy that has ill intentions on his punches. So I see both sides, but
also both guys were hurt multiple times. There was no knockdown in anyone's fight of the year.
There's no defense.
You expect him to get hurt. Two dudes that all they do is punch each other's face.
And that's what we want for fight of the year. And don't forget, guys, this was for a title. It's not like it doesn't mean anything.
That's not what we want.
A title in what is a hot division. 130 pounds is a hot division. Either one of these guys is the top of their division. You're laughing because you know you're wrong.
Yeah, I gotta go Steve on this one. Francisco Vargas is the best 130-pounder right now.
Division for me. He's not the top of the division for me.
Yeah, whatever.
Listen,
whatever. He's got holds or wins over any title holder right now.
First of all,
he's got draws or wins over any title holder in that division right now.
We all know he was a heavy underdog versus Lomachenko. Again, he got lucky. Okay? You think Bob knew he was gonna fucking beat up Juan Manuel Lopez? No. Okay? He gets lucky.
Fight of the year, not person with the best past. Come on, Ness, let go.
Yeah, fight of the year. And Salido at the moment isn't relevant. He isn't relevant.
But he beat Lomachenko a
year
ago.
Lomachenko says he wants to
rematch with Roman Martinez.
All these guys who are in the top division want to fight him and need to fight him to beat their demons. And yet he's not relevant.
Fight Corrales next. Like, what are you talking about, Ness?
Some of the best. He's like one of the best names on all of their resumes.
Do you think Vargas showed more skill in the mirror fight?
Yes,
of course he did. So this is my thing. It's like Vargas, like it just that's. I
think we need to move on. I think we need to move on because we still got two other fights, and we're going to be here for another couple hours.
Yeah, let Matt go ahead really quickly, and then we should move on.
I just want to briefly say that I kind of agree with MD and Steven on this one. Ness, I think you're off the reservation on this. I think that, yes, these types of fights is what the casual fans need. And I agree that that sort of brawl that without the technique is something that's a hallmark of boxing and just combat sports, period. But for me personally, still not my fight of the year because of, like MD said, the lack of technique. I understand that Steven's riding hard with this fight for his fight of the year, and I can see it because, like everyone, like MD said, a lot of writers are going for it, a lot of fans are going for this fight. I can see why, but just, again, not my fight of the year.
It'll never be my fight of the year. If you can't beat Salido, I don't really respect you, yo. I don't really respect you. Like, I know he's.
So you don't really respect Lomachenko. Got it.
Didn't I pick
Write that down. Somebody write that down. MD.
Hear what I'm saying.
Go.
MD, he doesn't like your white boy. Come on, MD, jump on him.
Let me talk. Didn't I pick Salido? Not you. I picked Salido. Not MD, not Matt, no one on this show, and barely any of the people that called in. I picked Salido to beat Lomachenko. Not you.
You don't know if I picked Salido or not in that fight.
Stop starting, MD. You called into this show. Not
First off, secondly, right? I think that the argument is better to show the lack of skill than to have to discredit a veteran who has 13 losses. I think that you're stretching, you're making a big stretch on that. But you know, we burned on this fight enough. We can move on to the I guess maybe the hardcore fight of the year, or just the different one, because this, to me, this is my second favorite fight of the year, and this is Denis Lebedev versus Murat Gassiev. And Matt's hipster says, of course he is. And you'll probably hear his favorite fight of the year involves two guys who are under 5'1". So I like this fight because it showed two different styles. It had a guy who overcame a serious knockdown, and continued boxing. It showed guys that really put a lot of damage on each other, especially Gassiev with his bigger shots. And it was a high-level fight because it was for a title. And I think that these are two guys in the top, at least in the top 10, maybe top 7 in the division. So it had everything you needed. It had, like I said, the chapters of the book, and it had skill. So I have no problem with anybody picking this as fight of the year either because of that. And it had the knockdown, which, the 1 and 2 fights that we discussed earlier didn't have. So this is definitely, in my opinion, worthy of a fight of the year, and this is my second favorite fight of the year.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I actually watched this one live, or probably right after. I think I watched this one live, and we even reported on this one on one of the Sunday shows. It was definitely a good fight, but I wasn't invested enough in these fighters. It's just, unfortunately, that's what it is for me. You have to be invested. And while I knew Gassiev and I've watched him fight maybe once or twice, Lebedev, he's always kind of been there, He's fought a little of everybody. I remember the Latif Coyote fight. I think this guy might have even fought Roy at one point.
He did. He beat Roy.
He's been around for
Roy Jones
so long, I think he's like 40. So it was cool that Gassiev stepped up, because he went from prospect to champion, because maybe in the eyes of the hardcores he was a contender, but he really, he was relatively new on the scene. So it's impressive to see him do what he did and win this title, and do what he did to Lebedev, who is definitely proven, especially with the type of names that are on Gassiev's resume. This was like a leap in competition, and he looked well. I think he looked better than MD thinks. I know me and him talked off air. Like, I really enjoyed the type of body work that he was doing, and just that persistence. He wasn't really wasting punches. I would have liked him to see.
I just thought it was closer than you thought it was. I thought that I need to go back and score it again, but I don't.
Lebedev almost won that. It was like a 6-6 or 7-5 either way. That was a close fight.
Yeah, I liked the work of Gassiev more, as like I told MD.
And there's ebbs and flows of the fight, there's
but
ups and downs.
These guys haven't captured the hearts or the attention of the fans. Even though Lebedev been there forever, like, we're not invested. We're just not invested. So, it's difficult for me
That's fair. That's a fair. That's a fair.
To give this one such a high, high regard when there's other fighters that I've paid more attention to that are doing more. Like again, Gassiev coming out of nowhere when Thurman and Porter have been laying down groundwork, going through, the gauntlet, and look at what Carl Frampton did. I mean, and if you want to give credit to Salido, that's a guy who, like, hey, you're going to talk about fight of the year, throw him in there because he's at least somehow managed to stay in these types of conversations, right? But this division's not American. So again, we have to at least be open-minded to the sense that but it's not about American because, again, I watched Lebedev. Like I said, I know he fought Roy. He's fought a lot of people. He's fought Hook, too, before Glowacki a long time ago. Like, that's what I'm saying. He's been around for so long. It's not really sexy for me unless you were like a Bernard, right? Where it's like, oh, shit, you got rid of Bernard. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but this was more competitive than Bernard. Obviously, Lebedev still had a lot more left in the tank. I remember talking about it, how brolic his shoulders look. But look, we spent enough time on it. I mean, it's not my fight of the year.
Steven, do you want to go? Or do you want me to
go? You can go ahead.
Just because, I like MD. I was a big fan of this fight. I was a big fan of Gassiev and Lebedev, and just a fan of this division overall. So I was pretty hyped on this fight, and it ended up delivering. I thought this fight, like MD said, had ebbs and flows, which I think fight of the years need. I think that the power in the cruiserweight division adds some more drama to it. And I thought that this was a good almost passing of the torch bout because you had that guy like Lebedev who's been in the division forever, faced everyone, and a guy like Gassiev who every hipster and hardcore, super hardcore had known about and thinks is the next guy. Because now everyone wants to see Alexander Usyk versus Gassiev. So I think this was a big fight. This fight's going to have some meaning to it in about 10 years. What was that?
Usyk spanks him.
Oh, I think so too. Just from a technique.
Too much of a boxer, man.
But I like Ness would agree that this fight just isn't fight of the year. Maybe for different reasons than him, but I agree that this just didn't do it for me. There wasn't enough drama, and maybe just because the atmosphere of the fight kind of sucked. I thought the crowd was kind of bad too. I don't know. It just didn't get me hyped up that way. Great fight, but not fight of the year.
Yeah, I watched this fight, I think the day that we did the show when we reported on it, and I watched it through a link somebody had sent. I think you sent us a link, Matt. I can't remember. But
I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did. And it was exciting. It's always great and fun to watch big guys go at it and throw bombs and land on each other. I agree with MD in the sense that there was a little bit more skill, but maybe that's why I didn't like it as much. And also because, like how I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I knew that Vargas had gotten fight of the year in my book for last year. I mean, yeah, Francisco Vargas. So coming into this fight with Salido, I was really hyped for it. I was waiting for this fight. This is one of those fights where I was marking down on my calendar. This fight, this Gassiev fight, I wasn't really aware. I don't think anybody knew it was going to be this type of fight. Did anybody expect that, Matt or MD? Did you guys expect this to be a great fight?
People either expected Gassiev to go in there and be the next boogeyman of the division and knock out Lebedev, or people expected Lebedev to go in there and sort of outbox him, and then it ended up, I think, overdoing the hype that was surrounding it. Like I would say
I would say the consensus would be that people thought that Gassiev would have an easier time.
I think that, to me, this fight wasn't just highly anticipated for me, like how the other fights were. Maybe like what Ness said was right, the fact that I'm not invested in these guys. But when I watched the fight, I enjoyed it. And it's, like I said, it's great to watch big cruiserweights who throw down. Yeah. Is it top number one? No, but I would say it's an honorable mention, close call for maybe number two, because it was for a title fight. And it did produce the action. They deserve credit. So I would say it's close to a number two. If somebody put it as their number two, but not number one, I would say that's deserving. Yeah, it's not my number two.
I think what is honorable, an honorable mention is to mention the thumbs up that you guys aren't hitting. You guys should hit thumbs up because, again, we're bringing you another show that you guys could either you're listening live or you're downloading for your morning commute on Monday. So please hit thumbs up and share for more great content.
So Chisora Whyte. I watched this one live. MD, what's your thoughts?
It was a good fight. I think that because of the heavyweight divisions, like we talked about margin of error, and because of the heavyweight divisions, it's importance to the sport of boxing. We put this there because I think this was the best heavyweight fight this year. I think it showed two guys who are willing to stand toe-to-toe and fight. But my biggest issue is that, like Ness mentioned earlier, I guess in a previous show, that I think that just Whyte was just not in shape enough to do what he had to do. So it kind of looked more competitive because of that. So although this was a great fight and I love seeing heavyweights bang, go step in and bang with each other like that, I just don't give it the type of, I guess, credit or the type of praise that I do the other fights in this list. Although it is appropriate to mention because of that. So, and this was a fight that went under the radar, at least over here. People will admit themselves that it's like not that interested to see, people like Ness always shit on Dereck Chisora, but he ended up putting out a great fight because typically speaking, he is the guy who talks up before the fight and doesn't show out, but he showed out this fight. And a lot of people actually had Chisora winning. So fight of the year nominee nonetheless.
Yeah, for me, I actually watched this one live with Casual and Doomsday, and this one was a close fight. It had everything in it, except really for level of interest, right? Like, this was a fight when it was announced. It wasn't a fight that I cared about. It was a fight that I watched because I have to do a job. It wasn't a fight that I wanted to watch, so I was surprised by the outcome. It was good, right? It had ebb and flow, but like again, MD, I said it in the Sunday show. It was more about Whyte not being the type of fighter we needed him to be that night. He was giving Chisora too many opportunities in that fight. Chisora was the older fighter. There's blueprints on him. Fury beat him twice. There's people that beat him. So I don't think that that Whyte, who was supposedly like touted, remember how much hype there was around him when he fought Joshua? It was sad to see that he didn't really, have the game plan. Like, I want to see gears, man. I want to see levels. And you guys get upset at me when I don't pick a guy that's only stuck in gear one for fighter of the year. I like to see a guy shift through gears like a manual transmission, man. The more gears, the better. If you were 6-speed, baby, well, then you were a fucking Nissan GTR. You know what I mean? Give me 6 gears, yo. Don't give me no fucking outdated manual 3-shift transmission. Like, I need more gears. You have to show me levels. And there was excitement. I mean, damn, the pictures floating around of Whyte's face. Chisora really came to win this fight, and that's why it's at least a candidate for me, because he gave it his all. And he's a guy who we usually feel like doesn't come into shape, but he was here to fight this time. And I think if the rematch is made, which there's a lot of talk that they will be making that rematch, I think that Chisora would fight even harder, but I'm hoping that Whyte would have learned from his mistakes, but obviously not fight of the year for me. Again, for like level of interest is really the biggest thing. When this was announced, I wasn't interested, and investment neither. It's like, I'm not really invested in Chisora, even though, he drugged me in because of throwing everything that he did to build up the fight. He builds up fights beautifully. Remember, he threw the press conference table and everything.
Yeah, this fight was really fun to watch. Again, like when you watch two guys who are like 200 pounds plus throw bombs, it's great to see. And again, this is the type of fight that boxing needs. It needs exciting heavyweight fights in particular. And this one was fun to watch. I agree that Chisora showed up, but part of me just is really more like, I don't think Dillian Whyte showed up. It's making me starting to think, I think Dillian Whyte really was just hyped up for that Anthony and Joshua fight, so it could be a really big fight. You can argue that, he was undefeated before that, but this this day and age, certain fighters under certain promotional companies to build up certain fights can remain undefeated. And so this fight's also not a title fight. So it does lack luster in that sense. Also, not invested in these guys. So it's hard for me to pick this fight as fight of the year. I would definitely say it's an honorable mention.
I definitely have to agree with everyone here on the panel with their points on it. I think it was an exciting fight. It was at most times a very untechnical fight, and it just wasn't the fight that got me hyped up. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit of a hater. I don't know what it is, but this fight to me just didn't do it for me. I remember watching it on kind of a bad stream live on my phone, and I was just like, oh, it's exciting, but it's so sloppy at times. It just lost me at moments. I just couldn't get behind it.
Yeah, but then at least you're admitting that the aesthetics of the fight, because me myself, right? If I see two fights, one's crisp HD quality and the other is a bad stream, inevitably the one with the better stream aesthetically will have a better impact.
No, true. And
I agree, because I got like a bunch of clips from Instagram watching this while I was at work, and then you come home and you sit down, you watch it. Sometimes like, all right, I gotta go get up and get a beer before the next round starts, but I already saw the beginning of the next round, so maybe I'll take 5 minutes grabbing a beer instead of one. It's like it's hard to kind of get into it.
But for me, this isn't even a top 5 fight of the year. I don't know what it is. Am I crazy on that? Like, this doesn't.
No, certain elements are missing. Again, title fight, I think need to be.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that the lack of a title does take away some of that drama about it. Because it was Dereck Chisora. He was going to get suspended for a certain amount of time, no matter what happened. So if it was like, oh man, that kind of took so much luster out of the bout, and then we had a great bout, and it just, I don't know, none of these guys out of this bout's going to be a heavyweight champion to me, right? Maybe that's part of it too. Like, I don't see any of these guys in that bout going on and being a champion, even for like a one-time champion and losing on his first defense. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, only if they fight like maybe Shannon Briggs, if he wins that interim. Like that's true. That's it. Option. That's their. Yeah. Let's get out to the callers. It's about that time.
Hold on, can I get my fight of the year? Oh, I didn't get my fight of the year.
You didn't. Oh yeah, you did have a hipster.
Well, Matt, you should follow the rules yourself, and you can mention someone that you didn't. But what is your out of the top 5?
Out of the top 5, my favorite fight out of these top 5 is definitely Shawn Porter versus Keith Thurman. I have to give it to that, just due to the relative competitiveness and elite status of both men. But my true fight of the year is Richard Commey versus Robert Easter Jr.
Which guy's winning a title out of the two? Which guy's winning a title out of the two of them?
Wait, wasn't that for a title?
No, Richard Commey, Robert Easter.
Yeah, it was for
the IBF, right?
Title vacant
for the IBF.
But
anyways, I thought that bout perfectly encapsulated what I love about boxing. Similar to what like Steven said about Francisco Vargas versus Orlando Salido. 2 undefeated guys, pretty much in their prime, really young. Both have knockout power going against each other at the lighter divisions. I love that. And I thought the fight delivered. And I think another honorable mention that it will not get any talk about, but I think it should, is Omar Douglas versus Javier Fortuna. Because that bout had 2 round of the years in it. 2 round of the years.
Great fight. But like Cormier,
that's a good
Douglas was unknown and Cormier was unknown. We knew Easter because of PBC. So the people that don't like PBC, they didn't know Easter. Unknown means not invested, not interested.
I just think for that one, after the knockdown, I think that what's his name, Fortuna really took over, so it wasn't really that competitive in those middle rounds.
Do you not remember the last round?
Last round was great, but I think between the last round and the knockdown, I think it was so dominant.
Again, that's why I don't give it my fight of the year, but I think that's one that deserves some sort of mention on the show. That's all.
And I'm glad you were, because I totally forgot about that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's go out to these callers really quick.
These calls are brought to you by our sponsor, El Camino Electrical Services, who have over 15 years of commercial electrical experience, servicing the whole Silicon Valley and the entire San Francisco Peninsula. Visit us at our website, elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
Boxing Evolution on Skype. Talk to me, brother.
Can you hear me clearly? I'm in the basement, so I'm at work, so I don't know if you can hear me.
I hear you.
Cool. Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, the way you guys are talking about if you're invested and this, that, and the other, it kind of reminds me of years ago I watched ESPN, and they had like this college ball game, and it went into four OTs, 4 overtimes in a basketball game, and it was an amazing game, but they gave it to the Super Bowl winners. So it's kind of like the way you guys are describing, if you're investing, not kind of like that. Is it what, I don't know what your criteria is for what you actually enjoy. Is it what made you feel like, wow, like, oh my God, they've gone into 5 OTs, or wow, what what a moment in the fight, or it's just that, oh yeah, they're higher level, so therefore they should deserve it more because they're fighting for a world title and so forth.
I'll tell you this, for me, my wow, right? My wow has a bigger, like a 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest. My wow is greater for a higher level of fighter or fight.
Okay.
Yeah, and Carl, let me give you a quick analogy. For me, myself, if I see someone like Danny Garcia get off the canvas and knock somebody out, I'm more wow than if I see someone like Sam Eggington get off the canvas and knock somebody out.
Or even if the Sam Eggington fight is even more exciting moments in it, like they have like more like knockdowns, more of him getting up, but the Danny Garcia gets up the one time, is that still more rated high?
Probably. I mean, you have to
hold on.
Okay.
MD, that's your personal preference though, caller. Like for me, it's different. Like the Sam Eggington Frankie Gavin fight is a great fight of the year candidate. You know, they had great back and forth moments. They had the wow factor to it. But just because MD personally is not connected to those people, that's why it's not as wow to him as maybe some of you guys over there in the UK.
It's just, how do you trump? I don't understand. Okay. So if our way of thinking is wrong, explain it to me. How does Frankie Gavin, and this is hypothetical, but how does Frankie Gavin, then let's say Sam Eggington fight, trump Thurman Porter? Like, how do 2 guys that do less in the division trump anyone who's done more in the sport?
Because it's fight of the year.
Because he's fight of the year. Because your category is fight of the year, right? So if
but it's 2 people.
Hold on, Ness. One sec. It's fight. You asked me a question, innit? It's fight of the year, right? So if you're watching a fight and someone gets knocked down 4 times and gets off the canvas and knocks the guy out in the last round, that is excitement. That's what's got me excited. Not just because they're a higher level or just a bigger name. Does that make sense?
No. Yeah, that was third sack Salido like 2 years ago. There was lots of knockdowns, but it still wasn't fight of the year because even though it was a lot of knockdowns, we don't really know third sack and Salido, like how Ness said, wasn't relevant during the time.
Yo, flying excites me, right? But going to Vegas and going to the Caribbean is 2 different things. You know what I'm saying? It's a different wow factor.
Caller, let me for me, there has to be a balance, right? That's why I explained Danny Garcia getting knocked down versus Eggington, because as boxing fans, seeing lower level guys beat the shit out of each other is one thing. But when you see like Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter go to war, it's like, it's more, I guess riveting. I guess that's a proper word. It's more riveting because you're invested in these fighters. You know their level and you know the impact of this fight. So
yeah,
I have no problem with someone choosing that, but I just can't, with something so low level, it cannot be qualified for fight of the year.
Okay, no worries. It's just, I just wanted to see what you guys thought of it. That's all. No worries. I better get back to work before I get fired.
What's your fight of the year?
You know, he ran out of time like a minute ago.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool.
What's your fight of the year? Just say it real quick. Fight of the year.
I can't hear you.
What's your fight of the year?
Huh? Mine was Dillian Whyte and Chisora, because for the impact, the sounds of them heavyweights hitting each other is that I haven't heard that for such a while, and it was fun to watch. That was my fight of the year, personally.
Thank you for calling in. And you see Matt, I know Matt stepped away. You see Matt, this is why we had it in the top 5, because we know that people love the heavyweights and they would pick that.
They love that fight, man. There's a lot of talk for that. Let's go out to Willy Wonka.
Hello.
What up?
What I wanted to say is the Denis Lebedev, that fight can't be part of it because How can he defend his WBA and IBF title but lose the IBF and keep the WBA, even though he lost?
Well, it could come from Gassiev not wanting to pay the sanctioning fees, maybe. But I doubt that. That would have made it vacant. That would have made it vacant. I'm not sure. That's something to check into.
Well, this is not that type of show. The fight was amazing regardless.
Yeah, it's not sanctioning body of the year. It's fight of the year. How was the fight?
To be honest, not as good as the Chisora and Dillian Whyte. That one was much better. The Denis Lebedev, I don't know. It's more like you guys talking about not being invested in it. So, same thing.
What about Porter Thurman?
Oh yeah, that was a good one, but not as good as the heavyweights. When you watch the heavyweights, you know, you're just on the edge of your seat and all that. So yeah,
I hear you.
I think Frampton will end up winning it anyway. Him and Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah, would you put that one above Thurman Porter?
Yeah. Because just the circumstances, they're both undefeated and they went all 12 rounds. And like you said, it kept going back and forth. So, yeah, probably Dillian Whyte. But Dillian Whyte still, for me, is the number one, him and Chisora. And you guys said that Dillian Whyte looked not in shape for the fight. No, he was in shape for the fight. He's just a shit fighter.
So there you go. If he's a shit fighter, how is it fight of the year? I don't understand this.
He likes the violence and the I guess the margin of error.
It's not about the fighter; it's about the performance.
Yeah, he has an opinion, us.
Just like I picked Canelo Alvarez, Amir Khan for knockout of the year, just because it was just a great knockout. Doesn't matter. I didn't care about the weight and all that. I just didn't care about it. I just cared about the knockout. These people just care about the fight.
What else do you think, Willie? What do you think?
It was more exciting because, like, after the 6th round, you can see they were both tired and they were just leaning on each other and beating the shit out of each other. But if it had a knockout, it would have made it even sweeter. But yeah. And you guys were saying about Dillian Whyte when they hyped him up for Joshua. That was a Eddie Hearn stunt that he made.
I said that.
Yeah, he got, what's it called? He got Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte can talk a lot of shit. He can talk shit for 2 days straight, and he's the reason that the pay-per-views sell in Joshua first fight and against Molina. He's the one. Him and Chisora sold the pay-per-view on the Molina fight as well. So yeah, Eddie Hearn's smart.
Mm-hmm. Eddie Hearn said, I remember people were criticizing this fight going in. Eddie Hearn's like, "Oh, there's two big guys and they're from the streets. They're gonna fight. How could it be bad?" And you know what? He actually was right. So.
Yeah, to the people asking, no, we haven't gotten our 25. Today is the deadline. I know that we are like, we need about 10 or 8 people more. So today is the deadline. Head on over to ThaBoxingvoice.com. If you're interested in the 3rd TBV Appreciation Night, which falls on the eve of Thurman versus Danny Garcia, which is going to be held in the Barclays Center in New York City, Brooklyn. We're going to be having our event that Friday. Head on over to ThaBoxingVoice.com. There's a banner there with the faces of Danny and Keith. You can get all the information there. There's videos. There's information there for you to check it out, and the RSVP list if you are interested. Let's get out to some more callers. Got a couple of alumni, and actually someone who contacted me today about that.
Mr. Info Joe.
This portion of the show we call In the Know, presented by my brother.
Yo.
Info Joe, what up?
Live?
Yeah, typically when your introduction's done, you go. I'm fucking with you, man.
All right. Hey, I got my coffee brewed, bud, and boxing. What more could I ask for? Good morning, TBV fam.
Good morning.
Hey. So you're doing some gardening work, I hear, for your wife or whatever. Congratulations.
Or whatever.
Yo, fight of the year, I gotta go with Thurman Porter. From the first round, there was no fill out. Keith came out and bombed on Shawn with a left hook, and it was on. It was a good, exciting, even flow, back and forth fight to the last round. I was at the Barclays Live, and then people were jumping out of their seat during the fight. It peaked at 4 million viewers without the Olympics. And to me, it saved PBC's credibility. Remember, at that time, all the haters were saying PBC is not matching the best with the best. My second runner-up would be Frampton Cruz. Third runner-up would be Vargas Salido. And fourth runner-up, Comey and Easter. That's my call. Peace, brothers. Thanks for the Sunday morning boxing.
All right, Info Joe, thanks for calling in. We got some more alumni. I like it. Everybody waking up early with us.
I told y'all a long time ago, the Kirkland will go down 3 rounds.
Yo, what up? What up, TBZ?
What up, Milkman? What's going on?
Hey, man, nothing much, man. Just calling in, get my 2 cents. You know, my fight of the year was a toss-up, man, between Salido and Vargas and Thurman and Porter. I would probably lean Thurman and Porter just for the simple fact, you know, when I think of what makes fight of the year, right, I think you need a couple of ingredients. I think you need mostly offense, right? There has to be some type of back and forth offense, but you do need to sprinkle in some levels of defense, because without the defensive aspect, it almost kind of looks like a rock'em sock'em robot type fight. And I think most people, when they see that, that's not really like, it looks like something you would normally see on the streets, right? So like when we watch boxing, we want to see things that normal people can't do, right? The average Joe can't do. And I think when you just have 2 guys that just stand in front of each other and just bang it out, I think that's like watching, you know, just a fight on the street. So, you know, that's why, you know, like a guy like Mike Tyson, man, he was so exciting because he had both qualities, right? He could go in and annihilate you with his offense, but his defense was slick as fuck too. So I think that's what really makes a fight of the year. A lot of offense with a sprinkle of defense. Would you agree?
I agree. Milkman, let me ask you an off-topic question. Would you recommend your fighter to train for a fight before actually having a fight set up?
Well, I would say I would tell him to stay in shape. You know, because there's no reason to train if you don't know when the hell you're gonna fight. You know, because the body does need to rest. I would tell him just stay in shape, don't get fat as fuck, and just be ready when the call comes. And I want to see y'all do a show on this bullshit about the Salido and Lomachenko fight not happening. We need to talk about that shit, man. I'm just throwing it out there.
All right, we'll see what we can do. Milkman, thanks for calling in. We're going to Anonymous. Who's this?
How you doing, Nestor? Suleiman. How you doing?
Suleiman, what up? Call you block your number face.
So yes, I'm calling because you know the fight that, you know, even though it wasn't for a title, I mean the one that got a title fight was that Thomas Williams against Edwin Rodriguez. There was knockdowns. They was trying to kill each other in there. You know, they had the knockout power. They had the speed. They was trying to prove something, and Thomas Williams knocked out Edwin Rodriguez. That's my fight of the year. And also, like, number 2 will be that number 2 will be also that fight right there with Saul Canelo Alvarez against Amir Khan. Amir Khan, that was a good fight. It was for middleweight championship. Everybody had a lot of expectations for Amir Khan. He came there to win the fight. You know, he was game all the way to the end. So the finishing punch came out and dropped him. and you see the sincerity and the concern for, it was a lot of emotion from both sides, because when Saul Canelo Alvarez dropped him, he went on his knees. It was like a dramatic fight. You know what I mean? It was something like both guys, they went in there, they both used their techniques. There was a title at the line. I think to me that was the second fight, and also the Edwin Rodriguez, because that one wasn't for a title. So one of those to me is the fight of the year. You guys have a great great evening, and if you have any questions, you could ask me any questions now.
Hey, Suleiman. Can you pick a fight out of the top 5 we have? Because that's what we're doing for a vote.
Okay, from the ones that you got, okay, I'll pick that Salido.
Yeah.
Salido with Francisco Vargas, because Salido's game, man. He got the losses, but he's game, and the reason he got the losses is because he's willing at the drop of the hat, he signed the contract and fight you. Like, he's not one of these guys that's gonna be shucking a job and give you a song and a dance to sign a contract. This guy say, okay, how much you willing to pay? And he's been training, he's ready, he's doing his road work. Okay, he's been doing his basic training, his fundamentals. So he set up a fight, signed a contract, and hey, at the end of the day,
Suleiman. So was this mentioned by the caller before? Have you not read the news? Because I wouldn't be so sold on Salido being you name a fight, I fight you, no contract issues. That's all I'm saying, because he seemed to have changed that, right?
But because everybody became prima donna now. Now all these fighters, they want to have a multi-million-dollar contract. They don't want to fight nobody because their back hurt them or whatever. The other one, he wins the heavyweight championship of the world, and he goes drug binging, and he don't want to fight. So now the game has become more and more modern. But you can't hate a guy like Salido, because he's willing to sign a fight. Okay, he's willing to fight anybody. I mean, he was the first guy to beat Robert Guerrero when Robert Guerrero was a featherweight, and he took his belt. They say he was on methamphetamine, and they stripped him of the title. Okay, then he went toe to toe with Gamboa at featherweight. Okay, I don't think I think he maxed out in his weight at 130.
Sorry to cut you off, Suleiman, but there's a reason why we have the 3-minute bell around.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, man, I got to get in on this. We're talking about fight of the year. You guys were breaking it down into categories, man. You can't break it down into most skilled fight of the year or brawl of the year. So in my opinion, Salido Vargas, man, is #1 fight of the year, hands down, because that's the fight I remember the most. And I think that's a fight like anybody, most boxing fans remember the rounds and everything. I mean, it was a fight. And Thurman Porter, you just remember the outcome. But to me, Salido Vargas is fight of the year. That's the fight I remember the most. And it has the wow factor, it has the drama effect, and it had the level, because you guys are saying that's a low level fighting, but that was actually for the WBC title. So I mean, that's up there with the elite.
Alex, let me ask you a quick question though. Let me ask you a quick question. Maybe the reason why we're so focused on the outcome is because the outcome is relevant. So yeah, the outcome is important, but a lot of people, since the degree of the long-term implications of this fight, whether Shawn Porter is going to get a second chance at the top or Keith Thurman is going to continue his rise to the top, is more important than the result of the Salido Vargas fight. So I think that could be overshadowed in that regards.
I disagree, because outcome is not the fight, and it's fight of the year, like he mentioned in the beginning of his call.
Correct. Well, I hear what you're saying, but again,
there's no like official rule book for these awards. Everyone has their own subjective criteria.
That's what's great about the Boxing Voices is you come here and you argue.
The only rules is you give your top 5 of our top 5, and you give your honorable mention. And if your honorable mention happens to be your favorite fight, you could mention that.
Yeah, my favorite fight is Salido Vargas. That's #1, and it has to do with the entertainment versus accomplishment. And like you said, in everybody's opinion, you're going with the accomplishment. I'm going with the entertainment. That's what I remember. And so I understand the whole what your point is about, what it did for that division. So I mean, definitely it's up there. Thurman Porter is in my top 5, of course. Frampton, Cruz too, but so my vote is Salido Vargas, and I'm going with the entertainment value.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in, man.
The entertainment value is whack. Nah, I'm messing with you.
Killing me.
All right, Alex, I'm messing with you. Let me go to Joey in Indiana. Talk to me.
Fight.
Joey, what up?
I'm picking Frampton Cruz. Yeah, I'm here, man. Yes.
Talk to us, baby.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, I was I'm a little biased with the Thurman Porter. I was gonna pick that, but I'm gonna go with Frampton and Cruz. I just think bell to bell, that fight just had everything, man. And honestly, that was one of them fights where it didn't matter to me who was the winner. It just delivered. So that's gonna be my fight of the year, man. Frampton Cruz, and then we got the rematch coming up here soon. So I really can't wait, man, for that. So and it's tough. It's a toss up between Thurman and Porter, but I don't want to talk because I did attend that fight. So I would pick that one, but Frampton Cruz delivered for me, man. So that's my fight of the year, dog.
Frampton Cruz.
That'd be it for me, though, Ness. Yeah,
Thanks for calling in, Joey. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for calling in. Well, I guess we got it. We didn't get a lot of callers. Obviously, this was an unexpected show. So you're going to have to leave your fight of the year in the comments below so that we could get a better assessment. But what numbers do we have with the few that called in, Matt?
We have a clear winner, unlike knockout of the year. We have Keith Thurman versus Shawn Porter is the fight of the year, with Francisco Vargas and Orlando Salido coming in at number 2.
What happens if you take out MD's and Ness's vote, though? Does it become
then we would have to take out your vote too.
Oh, shit.
And then mine, and then probably just everyone else's, because then we're just doing arbitrary, taking out of votes at that point.
But I'll tell you one thing is that
why can't we just co-produce and help each other out?
Well, I'll tell you one thing is that Uncle Al will be very proud of us that we picked one of his fights, for the fight of the year. So thank you, Al, for continuing to fund the Boxing Voice. Oh wait, producer, he doesn't fund the Boxing Voice.
No, that I can fact check that. He does not fund it.
But I know 3 people who left us amazing
you know what, though? If he did, I totally would take it.
I know of 3 people that left us amazing reviews, which is better than any money Al Heyman could ever give me. We'll get to those for the next show.
I'll take the money.
Yes, and you guys could continue to do that as well, which is on iTunes, which is how I originally found this show way back in the day, before we had all of these new opportunities, is through iTunes. And iTunes is the way that a lot of you guys listen on your morning commute, which is why we decided to do a show during football and Sunday where a lot of casuals are watching football. But when you guys open your phone, whether it be Sunday night or Monday morning, to download this podcast on iTunes or any other I guess, means or platform, we have this content for you guys. So just remember to continue to support. It takes no effort and it takes very little money,
Yo, who's hitting you with the cut it?
Yo, that wasn't me.
Yo, Matt, you're disrespectful. Anyway, I'm your host, NesGTO. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at NesGTO. We will be back tonight at 7 p.m. talking a little boxing headlines. We got a lot to talk about, actually. Daniel Jacobs shaking things up, showing the world that he's ready for this assignment with Triple G, hiring Virgil Hunter, Chris Algieri, and even Gary Stark Sr., ladies and gentlemen. So you want to be around here for that show. It's all Steven's fault. Let's shoot him now. We won't be getting Virgil Hunter till next week because of Steven. But that's okay. We'll get him next week. That way, they would hopefully have time already together, because as of right now, they are not training together. But you can find a good doctor on Instagram or Twitter at.
You can find me at BoxingMD1 on Twitter. And there's also a rumor that Denny Jacobs has hired the Pope for his blessings.
That's a good joke. Good joke, MD. That's the first good joke of the week. Way to go.
Well, at least I try to be entertaining and funny, not just a hipster and a contrarian.
Okay, I'll take that as a cue to tell you my name is Steven Calderon. You can find me on Twitter at Calderon92 and on Instagram at sugar_steve.c. I'm sorry we're not having Virgil on tonight, but it will be just as good on Thursday.
And you can follow me at Mixed Combat News on Twitter. And you all have a great day. I'll see you later at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
That's right. Bye-bye.